Welcome back to Next Gen Console Watch, our show following all the news and rumors on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series consoles. I'm Seth Macy, and I'm, of course, joined by Ryan McCaffrey.
Always good to see you, Seth.
Likewise, host of IGN's Xbox Podcast Unlocked. Forgot to mention that very important detail. And, of course, Jonathon Dornbush, host of IGN's PlayStation Podcast Beyond.
Beyond. Hey, Seth. Always good to see you as well.
Likewise, again, see, I don't have much to say because Sony has spoken after its long silence, and man, did they ever come out swinging. Let's get right into the Sony PlayStation Showcase. The exclusives lineup is now much clearer into 2023. Jonathon, please take us on the journey that was the Sony PlayStation reveals yesterday.
Yeah, I think just to, wrap it up kind of a bit concisely, the showcase was, I would say, 95% focused on third-party and indie games coming in the next 6 to 12-ish months. And then the last 5-10% where it really focused on PlayStation Studios was both games we knew about and really, really big surprises. So we got a much better sense of what's to come from PlayStation Studios, or at least I should probably say specifically from Insomniac games. We learned a lot more about God of War Ragnarok. Finally got confirmation and saw a teaser trailer for Marvel's Spider-Man 2, which is coming in 2023, and then also got a tease for a brand new Wolverine game. But yeah, God of War Ragnarok coming in 2022. This was the first time we got gameplay for it, the first time we got a sort of in-depth look at what's going on with the game. We learned about some behind-the-scenes facts, such as Cory Barlog, the director of the last game, is no longer directing this one. In fact, it is another longtime God of War veteran of those games, Eric Williams, who's directing this one. But yeah, this was our first look at the game. It's been a long time coming. We finally got the title, which everyone assumed was Ragnarok, but we finally got confirmation of that as well. And it was, a really great showcase for, I think, getting a sense of what PlayStation has coming in the next year or so.
Right. Where would you put your level of surprise at any of what was shown yesterday?
I was really, really expecting God of War because it just felt like it needed to be shown at this point. If it's still coming out in 2022, which it is, but, before going to the show, they needed to finally show it. We've seen Horizon gameplay. We know the release date for that game, but God of War was a total mystery. So to get a pretty lengthy, this was about a 3 to 4 minutes, somewhere in there, chunk of gameplay to look at, some of the cinematics, new characters, returning characters, a sense of who the villains are, and full disclosure, full spoilers for some of the big twists of the 2018 God of War. So if you haven't played that game, you probably don't want to look at that trailer. But we got a really, really big look at that, and I loved the scope of it that we saw. But of course, the biggest surprises were Insomniac making another Marvel game. I think it's fair to say it's not a surprise that Insomniac is continuing to make PlayStation hit after PlayStation hit, but we now have confirmation they're working on Spider-Man 2, which is 2023, and a Wolverine game, which is not dated yet. I assume it's probably after Spider-Man 2, but this is a full-length standalone game, like it is its own full game, and we're getting a Wolverine game as well. I am such a huge X-Men fan, so to know it's in the hands of the team in Insomniac, who continues to really be the MVPs of the PS5 so far, I couldn't be happy about that.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff. As far as scope goes, it definitely had that E3 feel about it. So I wanted to ask you, Ryan, how would you compare this to what Microsoft did during E3 proper?
They were both great. That's the thing. I said on this show and my own show Unlocked when it happened earlier this summer that I thought Microsoft's E3 showcase this year was the best one they've ever done. It was, I think about 90 minutes, if I recall correctly, of just excellent game after excellent game, just a lot of fantastic stuff. And Sony was about 40 minutes, and they both kept it going the whole time. There was really good stuff from both consoles, including, as Jonathon mentioned, just Insomniac just dropping the mic. I don't know how they keep doing it. I looked it up to be sure. Sony purchased them officially, after the long-term second-party relationship, which really only they stepped out of for a hot minute in 2014, to do Sunset Overdrive, which is awesome for the Xbox One. But Sony paid $229 million for Insomniac. in 2019, and I have to imagine they've already made their money back on that.
Yeah, what a bargain.
Just the back of Ratchet and Clank this year and Miles Morales last fall. And Miles Morales is going to continue to sell. So will Sony as more and more people get their hands on PS5s. So it's just the studio is insanely talented. And it's like they've just got that momentum now where they partnered up with Marvel once. It totally worked. And now there's that trust there. And they're off and running with, Miles Morales also turned out fantastically. I actually like Miles Morales better than 2018 Spider-Man by a little bit. And then Spider-Man 2 and now Wolverine. I mean, that's just going to be, the snowball just keeps rolling downhill. So just a huge tip of the cap to Insomniac, who just continues to deliver big stuff. But yeah, it's both of these consoles now. We have a much, much, much better idea of what the next few years looks like, because Microsoft had kind of had to show their cards. The onus was on them to prove that they were finally going to deliver exclusive games. And I thought they did a really good job of that at E3 this year, which is one reason I thought it was their best E3. And now Sony, after, we knew that God of War for Horizon and Gran Turismo were in the pipeline. Now we finally have those pretty clearly laid out, but there was really nothing, we couldn't see past that. And now you look at the next few years for each of these consoles in terms of exclusives. And for PS5, you've got Horizon, God of War Ragnarok, Gran Turismo 7. You've got Final Fantasy, Spider-Man 2, the KOTOR remake, which was a big deal. That was an original Xbox exclusive.
Wow,
that was a very funny
the first time, which is just kind of funny. Ghostwire Tokyo, also kind of funny because it's a now Microsoft-owned company that's producing that on a timed exclusive, along with Forspoken, which we got a lengthy demo of. That was very impressive yesterday, or earlier this week, I should say, along with Wolverine and Project Eve as well. And then on the Microsoft side, again, the next few years are pretty laid out. Halo this fall in December, Forza Horizon 5 in November, Forza Motorsport, the next-gen reboot, purely for next-gen, that's coming up down the pipeline. Hellblade 2, Redfall from Arcane, Starfield from Todd Howard and Bethesda, Fable Avowed, the inevitable Gears of War 6, Everwild, State of Decay 3, Perfect Dark, Outer Worlds 2, Contraband, and way out in the distance, way out there, Elder Scrolls 6. So we just have a much better view of what's coming exclusively to both of these platforms over the next few years. And there's no war. I mean, you got to own both because there is just incredible stuff coming for both of these consoles. I love it.
Yeah. Jonathan, earlier you said that Insomniac was the sort of the MVP of the presentation. Would you think that it would be fair to say that so far they're kind of the MVP first party for this generation?
I mean, yeah, absolutely, hands down. And that's not to say anything badly of any of the other incredible first parties at Sony, who I think we have a sense of what some of them are working on, and a lot of mystery, which is an exciting time for PlayStation. There's teams like London Studio and Team Asobi and a few others. Some of the brand new acquired studios like Firesprite Games, which was acquired just this past week. We don't really have a sense of what they're working on, more than maybe ideas that they're hiring for certain projects. And so there's a lot of excitement there. But yeah, undoubtedly, Insomniac has pound for pound, minute for minute, put out the most, and I think put out the most exciting stuff on the PS5 so far. But I don't think that's to say anything less of what the other teams are going to be able to put out and accomplish. We just haven't quite gotten there yet. The momentum has been on Insomniac's side. They've been rolling with it, and I'm glad to see them finally getting kind of this huge moment in the spotlight. I've been a fan of theirs since, the Spyro days. And so to see this happening on such a consistent level is really, really exciting as a fan of that studio. And then, of course, enjoying games on my PS5.
I think a fair way to look at it, you could put it this way. If there was no Insomniac, the PS5's first year would look a lot different and for the worse.
It would look
and even the foreseeable future too. If you were to take them out, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, it would look a lot more like the launch of the PS4, honestly. The PS4's launch after day one really only had Infamous Second Son in its first year as a major big exclusive. And, between Insomniac with Miles Morales, Spider-Man Remastered, and Rift Apart, within 6 months, put out more than that. And so again, not in terms of comparing. There are multiple teams with Insomniac. Sucker Punch is a very different studio, but it's a really, really exciting time for PS5, and it's in large part thanks to Insomniac, which is really awesome.
Yeah, shout out to Insomniac. Well, changing the subject a little bit real quickly, I wanted to talk about the news where Horizon Forbidden West is getting a free PS4 to PS5 update, whereas before, that was something you had to pay for. Now, it's a little point of contention between the console warriors. But Ryan, what do you think about this move on Sony's part to start making this more of, I guess you'd say, the Microsoft way?
Well, yeah, I think I don't want to sort of stretch this too far, but I think it is fair to say that Microsoft set the expectation before this generation even started by saying, hey, we're going to do smart delivery. You buy one version of a game and you're going to get, it just works on any platform. There's no fee to go to the next gen version. So that expectation was set. And so when Sony tried to pull this monetized version of it with Horizon Forbidden West, the community, I think they would have reacted poorly to this even without smart delivery. So I don't want to, like put this it's all Microsoft's fault that Microsoft is to be thanked for this. Like, not in the literal direct sense, but they're definitely part of it where, it's just Sony knows as well as anyone what the demand is and what the supply is for the PlayStation 5. So to have rolled out with this initial policy of offering no upgrade path for folks, it was just not a consumer friendly thing. So a credit to the community for pushing back on Sony on that. That this is an example of the power of the community, using its voice to leverage, good change against these companies, and it does certainly at least make Microsoft look good with their policy of just, hey, we're a gamer friendly company, and we're not just saying that, we're not just talking that talk, we're walking that walk as well with smart delivery. So hopefully Sony will not try this again. I know we're, pretty soon the generational transition will be over in the next year or two, but at least, now the community has made it clear what they will and will not stand for with regard to these sort of monetized next gen upgrades.
Right.
Well, and I do think it's important to point out that there wasn't even really a next gen upgrade with this one. And I think that was probably the biggest sticking point more than anything, with things, and they're different cases because this is a brand new game, but with Ghost of Tsushima and Death Stranding Director's Cut, there was a, pay to upgrade to the PS5 version. For Horizon, you just had to either buy a more expensive collector's edition of the game or double dip. Or buy the PS5 version and wait to play it for whenever you got a PS5. There was no even upgrade path available, which was, I think, it's funny, but fans were like, I'd even just happily pay you money to upgrade right now. That was sort of the point people were at. So I'm glad they made it free because, especially after not even offering a moment like that, they really needed to kind of backtrack and backpedal on that. I think this was the best solution, but it was just such an unforced error that didn't need to happen.
I'm glad they were able to iron that out. But we're going to talk about last week's poll results right now, which the question last week was, how would you grade the current console generation after 300 days, which, by the way, wow, 300 days. The overwhelming winner was doing great, but room for improvement with 37.1% of the vote. As expected, nothing exciting, which was 29.5% of the vote. Barely passing needs significant work was at 12.5%, and top of their class at 11.5%, and all the way at the end, 9.3% of respondents said that they are failing. They must get it together fast. So next week's poll, what game from the PlayStation Showcase are you most excited for? God of War Ragnarok, Forspoken, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake, Gran Turismo 7, or something else? And of course, you know the routine. Leave a comment if you've answered someone else. And that will do it for this edition of Next Gen Console Watch. Thank you, Ryan and Jonathan. We will be back next Friday at 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern with more PS5 and Xbox Series X news. We will see you then.